thousands of times at the lotus feet of my holy master, Asmadiya Paramaradhata, guru-pada-asraya, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupada, Ashtotara Satasamad, Guru-Panugacharivaya, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayana Goswami. Secondly, I offer my pranam thousands and thousands of times at the lotus feet of my Sri Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Parampara. And I offer my pranam to all the Sangha Vaishnavas and Vaishnavas. So by the consciousness of Buddha and Paranga, we are hearing from Srimad Bhagavad-Gita. We have discussed the meaning of the word karma and also what is the result of those who follow their karma depending on their internal motivation. If they want to enjoy the fruits of their karma due to the influence of Rajaguna and the bodily conception of life, then they will go up to the Swargalok and enjoy there for some time and again return to this world. So they have no permanent auspiciousness or understanding of Atma, Bhagavad Tattva. On the other hand, if a person they try to cultivate sattva gun by doing nishkam karma, working without attachment to the fruit of their work, then they will not get any permanent or stable result also. Because they are arrogant, they are not respecting God, they are not respecting the administrative devotees of this world. So only the karmas which are performed, Bhagavad-Arpita, as an offering to God, without any desire to taste the fruit, are actually elevating for that soul and gradually bring him to the platform of Gyan. That means here Gyan, the discrimination between the body and the soul. Because in the course of working, doing your activity, your duty, then you will have to face so many difficulties, so many problems. One will have to tolerate them. One will have to put aside the immediate demands and urges of the body and mind in order to complete one's duty faithfully. And if one is not motivated by enjoying a fruit at the end of it, then what? In this way, one is in each moment working with the sense of I am doing this for the gradual purification, whereby, because the tattva gyan, the knowledge that I am not this body is not a theoretical knowledge, it's a practical realization, and it depends on shuddhata, the purity of the heart, the purity of the chitta. So by working without attachment to the fruits of one's labor and offering the result to God, gradually the heart becomes purified and tattva gyan arises. So, when the person is also practicing bhakti along with their Bhagavad-Arpita Nishkam karma, and bhakti is predominating, then it can be called Bhagavad-Arpita Nishkam karma yoga. The word yoga can be used. This person, because they are still in the bodily concept of life, though they are practicing bhakti and though they are working without attachment to the result of the work and offering the fruit, their activity is still not kevala bhakti or pure bhakti, because bhakti is never pure as long as there is identification with the material body. You understand? So though they are trying to do bhakti, it cannot be called actually Shuddha Bhakti, because the Tattva Gyan, the realization that I am not this physical body, has not yet appeared. And therefore, according to they don't have the Bhakti-adhikara to perform Kevala Bhakti. So their Bhakti is karma mishra mixed with karma. So, there is the path of the Gyan also. If Gyan is done without a mood of the devotion, at least to Paramatma Nistha or Bhagavat Nistha, then this Gyan is also useless. So the path of Gyan entails controlling the senses, becoming humble, endeavoring to see the misery of this world, trying to be aware of Paramatma in the heart of everyone. This is the sadhana of Gyan. So, to do a pure Gyan sadhana, one has to renounce everything. And so Krishna says this is very, very difficult. So it is better that one does Nishkarma Karma Yoga. And as one is doing the Nishkarma Karma Yoga, gradually the Tattva Gyan will arise in the heart. And as this Tattva Gyan is coming, then it's called Jnana Yoga. Even though outwardly the activity seems to be the same. Because all of those 20 angas of the Gyan sadhana are performed by the person, or as they're doing their Nishkam Karma Yoga. So, only Bhagavad-Arpita Nishkam Karma Yoga, whose objective is to attain Tattva Gyan, and only the Jnana Pradhani Bhuti Bhakti, whose objective is to attain Shuddha Bhakti, pure devotion, only these can be called Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. So the word yoga can only be attached to the process if it's the sadhana to attain bhakti, pure bhakti, which is the sadhana to attain God. Although Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga are not sadhanas to attain God. They are sadhanas to attain Tattva Gyan. And the Karma Yoga is sadhana to attain Tattva Gyan. And Jnana Yoga is the sadhana to attain the Bhakti, pure Bhakti. So they are not direct sadhanas to attain God, but they are sadhanas to attain the sadhana, the eligibility to perform the sadhana to attain God. So all these topics we have discussed. Now, I want to look at some nuance within this very important verse. Chapter 9 is the middle chapter of the middle 6 chapters of Bhagavad-Gita. So the Bhagavad-Gita is like a treasure chest. The first chapters is the base of the treasure chest. That is the Karma Yoga. And the last 6 chapters are Jnana Yoga. They are the lid of the chest. And if you open it, inside in the middle there is the treasure, that is Bhakti Yoga. So, here in chapter 9, text 27, Sri Krishna said, Yat karosi, yad asnasi, yad juhosi dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya, tat kurushva madarpanam. O Kaunteya, son of Kunti Devi, whatever activities you perform, whatever you eat, whatever you sacrifice and give in charity, and whatever austerities you perform, you offer them all to me. So here, Srila Vishnu Thakur said, Arjuna may ask the following question. Until now you have explained various types of bhakti. So which one of them should I follow? To remove Arjuna's doubt, Bhagavan says, "Oh Arjuna, at the moment you are unable to give up karma and jnana and so on. And therefore you do not have the adhikara to perform the topmost bhakti, which is called kevala bhakti or ananya-bhakti. But you do not need to perform the inferior sakam bhakti, doing devotional service with desires to get some material result. Because your adhikara is higher than that." So now Krishna is introducing a new category. He said, therefore you should perform nishkam karma jnana mishra pradhani bhuta bhakti. This is Vishnu Thakur's call. So this is not karma mishra bhakti or jnana mishra bhakti or nishkam karma yoga or only pradhani bhuta bhakti. This is nishkam karma jnana mishra pradhani bhuta bhakti. Now why is Srila Vishnu Thakur introducing this extra category just when you thought that you knew all of the categories? Now for 3 days we discussed the various categories. On the basis of this verse, Srila Vishnu Thakur is saying Krishna is introducing a new category for Arjuna that you have not discussed yet. Why? So, nishkam, without desire, karma jnana mishra, mixed with karma and jnana, pradhani bhuta bhakti, which means that bhakti is predominating, but there is a mixture of Bhagavad-Gita, nishkam, karma yoga and jnana sadhana in it. So, now, for this reason, Bhagavan is speaking this verse, beginning with the words Yat Karosi, and also the next slok, which says, whatever mundane or Vedic activities you perform as a normal routine, whatever food or water you take daily, and whatever austerities you may perform, you should maintain the understanding that all of them can be offered to me. Now, Srila Vishnu Thakur is explaining, however, this verse is not nishkam karma yoga and it is not bhakti yoga. Why? Those who are following nishkam karma yoga offer to Bhagavan only the actions which are prescribed in the scriptures. In other words, their duties prescribed by scriptures. But they don't offer the normal activities of day-to-day life. But the bhaktas, they offer every single function of their senses along with their soul, mind and life air to their Lord. As it is said in the description of Bhakti in Srimad Bhagavatam 1-36, whatever activities a bhakta performs with his body, his speech, his mind, his senses, his intelligence or his atma, by dint of his own nature, all of them are offered to the Supreme Lord Narayan. So, the following question may be raised. Here it says, Yaj juhosi, whatever sacrifices you perform. So, if juhosi, the performance of yajna, is the same as archan, which is one of the limbs of bhakti, which is performed for the purpose of satisfying Sri Vishnu. And if tapasya is performed, such as doing a fast on Ekadasi, then why are these practices not yet considered ananya-bhakti? In response, Bhagavan is saying, this is alright, but actions in ananya-bhakti are not offered to Bhagavan after they've been performed. Rather, the person first offers himself and the activity, and then he performs it from the very beginning. As Prahlad Maharaj has said, describing the 8 limbs of bhakti, Shavanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Bandhanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. So this verse is very well known, but not so common is the next verse, which actually gives a proper context. Iti pumsarpita Vishnu bhaktis chennavalakshana. A person who completely offers himself first to Vishnu, and having surrendered himself to God, then engages in hearing and chanting and remembering, this is called bhakti. So, it is evident here that bhakti is performed while first offering all activities to him, and not that the activities are offered after they are performed. In his explanation of this verse, Sridhar Swami Pad says that bhakti to Vishnu is performed while offering the activities to him, not that the acts are offered afterwards, after they've been performed. And therefore, the present Gita slok does not culminate in Kevala Bhakti. So, although Krishna is saying, whatever you do, whatever you offer, or give away, whatever you eat, whatever sacrifice, whatever austerities you perform, do that as an offering to me. It's not Bhagavad Apartanishkam Karma Yoga, because he's not saying the karmas that you do, in other words your daily duties, but he's saying that everything that you do, when you've done it, you offer to me, even ordinary bodily activities. But Srila Vishnu Thakur is saying it is still not in the category of bhakti, because in bhakti you don't do something then offer the result. In bhakti, first you offer yourself, and then every single moment of the activity is absorbed in the remembrance of Sri Krishna, which is the essence, the essential principle of bhakti. The essential principle of bhakti is the Krishnanmukh, to be attentive to Krishna at every moment. So, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he said, for those who are unable to take shelter of the most superior ananya-bhakti, that is, for those who are free from the bodily concept of life and totally engage themselves in hearing, chanting and remembering, then how will they live if they're not doing any duties? They're not doing anything. Only hearing, chanting and remembering. How will they survive? So Krishna explains in this chapter, ananyas cintayanto mam ye jana parupasate tesham nityabhyuktanam yogaksema. If someone is totally absorbed in ananya-bhakti, thinking of me at every moment with devotion, then whatever they have, I protect, and whatever they need, I personally bring it myself. Then someone may say, but this makes a big inconvenience for Krishna. Why do you have to bother Krishna with supplying and maintaining all the things we need? To which Krishna said, I am Supreme Lord. For me to do anything is very easy. And therefore there is not even the slightest effort involved in my maintaining my devotees. Rather, I like to do it. It gives Krishna happiness to take care of his devotees. In fact, that's what his opulences exist for. You know, Lord Narayan said to Durvasa, he said, my devotees are so dear to me, without my devotees, I have no need for my opulences. Bhagavan has 6 opulences, but what are they for? All those 6 opulences are for taking care of his devotees. And that gives him happiness. Otherwise, Krsna, I don't need my opulences. I'm detached from it. That's why one of the opulences is actually vairagya, detachment. So, for those who are not able to take shelter of that most superior ananya-bhakti, and for those who don't have a taste for performing a low class of bhakti, serving Krishna, and oh God, please give me this and that. So, for those in the middle stage, Bhagavan is instructing his dear friend Arjuna, whom he is using as an instrument to teach humanity to adopt nishkam, karma gyan mishra pradhani bhuta bhakti, which means in which all activities of life are offered to him. Krishna is saying, whatever actions you perform, whether they are lokic, mundane, whether they are Vedic, just offer them to me. Now, a person should not wrongly think that he can perform any activity and eat and drink whatever he likes without, and there will not be a defect as long as he offers it to Krishna. So, then you can offer your ganja, bhang, marijuana to Krishna, then Mahaprasada. No. Krishna said, whatever you do, then you do this for me. Okay. No. Why? Just because the devotee feels obliged to offer all actions to the lotus feet of Bhagavan, it does not mean that it will be successful. Nor does it mean that an act prescribed in the Vedas to whichever devata or with whatever desire will in the end be offered merely by saying the mantra Shri Krishnaya Samarpanam Astu. So he said, if someone does a puja for the devatas to fulfill some material desire, and then in the end he says, oh, Sri Krishna Samarpanam Astu, I offer this to you. Like the smarta Brahmins, they also do this, who engage in mundane activities. So, for this reason, all the commentators on this verse, such as Sridhar Swami, have explained the deep meaning. And that is, one should act in such a way that all of his activities are offered directly to Bhagavan. In other words, only those actions which are performed for his pleasure should be offered. As Narad Rishi has said in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Sharnagat Bhaktas, the devotees who are surrendered, perform acts which are pleasing to Bhagavan and solely offer those acts to him. While commentating on this verse, Vishwanath Thakur is showing the difference between the activities of a karmi and those of a bhakta. A karmi is a person who only offers to Bhagavan the activities which are in accordance with Vedic scriptures, so that his karma will not be fruitless. But the bhaktas, however, perform all their activities, whether lokic, worldly or Vedic, or activities related to the body, with the feeling that Bhagavan is my master, and it is for his pleasure that I am offering everything to his lotus feet. This is the great difference between the two. So, in the 11th canto, the Nava-yogendras have said, in accordance with the particular nature one has acquired in conditioned life, whatever one does with the body, the words, the mind, the senses, intelligence, or purified consciousness, one should offer that to the Supreme Lord, thinking that this is for the happiness of Lord Narayan. So, now, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying that the activities of a devotee which are performed with their body, mind, speech, intelligence, ego, heart and all senses should not be compared to the dharmic activities of those who are doing karma, which are performed for their own enjoyment. Why? Because the result of offering all one's actions to Krishna is that one's vimuktha, or indifference to God, one's obliviousness, one's lack of absence of memory of God is removed. So even though the activities themselves are not bhakti, right? Because it's not shravanam, it's not kirtanam, it's not smaranam. He's saying, Krishna says here, whatever you give away, in other words, you do charity. So you give some money to some poor person. You do some charitable acts. Or he's saying whatever you do, even taking a bath and so on. So he's saying when you do even your bodily activities, functions of the day, you do that as an offering to me. So this is not Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. None of these things are directly bhakti. But what's the benefit of offering every single thing to God? The benefit is that you're remembering Him. And it's the forgetfulness of God which is the cause of our conditioned life in this world. So, as a result of offering all of one's actions to Krishna as described above, one's vimuktha or aversion to God is gradually removed. Jivas who are situated in their swarup, in their spiritual form, all of the activities that they do are only for the purpose of serving Krishna. If some pious karmis who have some sukriti follow in the footsteps of the bhaktas in a bona fide sampradaya and offer all their activities to the lotus feet of Bhagavan, then they will gradually and quickly rise above karma mishra bhakti and also become like the bhaktas. So here in this verse, Krishna is telling Arjuna that at the very beginning of an activity, you should pray to God and then do that activity for God's pleasure. And this is called Nishkam Karma Gyan Mishra Pradani Bhuta Bhakti. So, let's see who's paying attention. If a person, they are about to do some activity, some duty in this world, and before they do it, they pray to God, oh my Lord, I am doing this for your happiness. And then they do that duty. Why is this not bhakti?
Because there's still material conception.
Yeah, it's not Shuddha Bhakti because they still have a bodily conception. It may be that a person is free from the bodily conception entirely and they do the activity, in which case this activity falls in the category of jnana kama adhinavrita. That the activity will not cover their pure bhakti. Krishna doesn't say jnana kama shunya, completely free from kama jnana. But if they're already free from the bodily conception of life, and they do without any desire for it, and they're devoted, then the karma will not cover it. But the activity itself is not pure bhakti. So, he's saying because the consciousness is not purified, so it cannot be pure bhakti. But a person whose consciousness is not purified can also engage in bhakti. That means that the activity itself should be the sakshat anga, the direct angas of devotion, such as hearing, chanting and remembering the divine name, form, qualities and pastimes of Krishna. In other words, bhakti is related to Atma and to God and the divine realm. So only when the soul is hearing, chanting, remembering, serving Krishna's Nam, Rup, Gun and Leela, then it's called bhakti. And performing activities of this world in a spirit of devotion to Krishna is the karma, jnana, mishra, pradhanibhuta bhakti. Nishkam karma, jnana, mishra bhakti. So, now we're coming to pure bhakti, Shuddha bhakti. Once, Srila Prabhupada, he said, I say it's in one letter, he said, why am I engaging you in distributing books, building temples, making life members and all of these things? He said, because you are not qualified to sit down in one place and chant Hare Krishna. This is why. Because the essence of Rupa Goswami's teaching, what? Tan nama rupa charitani sukirtanano smrityo kramena rasana manasi niyoja Chistan braje tatanuragi jananugami kalem nayad akilam ityupadesha saram. The essence of all instructions is that one should utilize one's full time, 24 hours a day, in very nicely hearing and remembering Krishna's Nam, Rup, Gun and Leela. In this way one should engage the tongue and the mind while residing in Braj, physically and internally. One should serve Krishna internally, following in the footsteps of the eternal residents of Vrndavan, and outwardly following the eternal associates of Mahaprabhu, the 6 Goswamis. This is the essence of all advice. So, after a few days, we can start with that. Everyone can do this for a few days and you see if you can do it or not. And then you can understand the importance of doing some physical service. So, Prabhupada said, I'm engaging people in doing so many different activities because they don't have the adhikara for this. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur would say, Kirtana Prabhava Smarna Hive. By engaging, doing loud Sankirtan, here and there, Nagar Sankirtan here and there, or in the temple with the devotees and so on, then the heart becomes purified and Smaran, the adhikara, the qualification to do Smaran, arises. So if a person, without developing this adhikara, just goes to a solitary place and tries to do nirjan bhajan, he said this is kevala kaitava, only cheating. They are cheating themselves and cheating others, only for the purpose of getting some reputation, name and fame for themselves as a great bhajananandi and mukta purush. They are doing this. But what will be the result? They will sit and while chanting, meditate on their material desires, and internally they are not serving Radha and Krishna, but rather they will meet with so many obstacles, internal obstacles, that gradually they will lose all enthusiasm for chanting and give up. I know many persons who went on this path. So the actual path is that one has to be engaged in such a way that the heart is gradually purified. And then by the power of kirtan, Smaran will naturally awaken. At that time, one can sit in one place and just chant. Who teaches us how to chant? Who is the example of how to chant? Namacharya Srila Thakur. What did he do? 3 lakhs Harinam. All day, all night chanting. This is the example. Mahaprabhu said, you are Jagat Guru. And he was also doing prachar. Also. Chanting 3 lakhs and also going out and helping others. So Mahaprabhu said, some people do prachar, but they don't do achar, proper behavior. That means they're not chanting and doing bhajan, but they preach. Their preaching is karma, only for collecting money and followers. And others, they chant, but they're not helping others. They don't do any prachar. But your prachar is perfect, your achar is perfect. So you are Jagat Guru, you are Guru of the whole world. So Srila Haridas Thakur and Nityananda, they used to go door to door, knocking on doors and talk to people and request them, Bolo Krishna, Bhajo Krishna, Karo Krishna Shiksha. My dear friend, I am not begging anything from you, only I beg that you chant Krishna's name, that you follow the teachings of Krishna in Bhagavad-Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam and worship Krishna. So, chanting and also helping others. This is the best process. So, here the question comes. If there's a person, they're not qualified for the path of Jnana Yoga or for pure Bhakti. So they take up the path of Nishkam Karma Yoga, Bhagavad-Gita Nishkam Karma Yoga. But it is said that Bhagavana Naramatram Tariyat Krishna Nama. If anyone will chant the name of Krishna only once, they are liberated from this world. The implication of this Bhagavana Naramatra. Nara means human being. It means that every single human being has the eligibility to begin bhakti. So, but if such a person is not even qualified for jnana, they have a karma-adhikara, how will they begin bhakti? So, Krishna bestows bhakti adhikar on the jivas through his pure devotees. Understand? And therefore, the first step in the first of 64 angas of bhakti is guru-pada-asraya. To take shelter of the lotus feet of the spiritual master. Associating with Guru, hearing from Guru, serving Guru with great honor, gradually a relationship develops. And the fruit of that relationship is initiation. So guru-pada-asraya, then diksha, initiation. Then guru-seva, rendering more and more service to the spiritual master. He said visrambena guru seva. Visrambena guru seva. Visramba here means Vishesh Rupain Shraddha. Oh, is anyone here taking breakfast there? I think no.
I'll distribute outside.
Acha. Anyone here will take breakfast there? No? No. Otherwise you will take what's left and distribute
After the
food for life. Oh, you want to take after the katar some breakfast here? Anyone? I think no. They're not taking any more. Lunchtime.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you. Hare Krishna. So, Visrambena Guru Seva means to serve Guru with Vishesh Rup Saddha, with very intense faith. Therefore, in illustrating the meaning of Visrambena Guru Seva, Srila Rupa Goswami gives the verse Acharyam mam bijanyam na amanyeta kaichit Na matya buddhya suyeta sarava deva maya guru. Which means, Krishna said, you should know that the Acharya is non-different from my very self. He is my very self. Never be envious of the Guru. What is envy of Guru? Na matya buddhya suyeta. The asuya, the enviousness comes in the concept called matya buddhi. Matya means mortal. It's almost like the English, martya. Someone who is subject to mriti, death, is called martya, or a mortal being. So mortal beings means a soul who is in this world, conditioned by a physical body and mind, and bound by karmas, and they must die by their karma and again take birth by their karma. This is called a mortal being. So to think like this in regard to Guru, this is called envy of the Guru. So the disciple should have very strong conviction that my Gurudev is untouched by his trigunatit, beyond this material world. Completely. He is not acting according to any past karmas, and he is not bound in any way. By the mercy of Krishna, he is manifest before us, and by the mercy of Krishna, he may become apakat, may disappear from this world. But he is a transcendental person. Krishna is saying, Acharya, no, he is my very self. In other words, if Krishna were to appear before me right now, what would he say? What my Gurudev is telling, this is what he would say. In fact, Krishna can manifest many forms. So the disciple thinks one of the forms manifested by Krishna is my Guru. And at the same time, my Guru is a pure Vaishnava, so he is considered to be one with Krishna in terms of their intimate loving relationship. So to serve the spiritual master with this strong conviction, this is called visrambena guru seva. So even though the disciple, it seems like he has karma-adhikara, he's in ignorance, he says, I'm not the body, but he feels like I'm the body. When the senses tell him, oh, I have to go to buy a pizza, chocolate, ice cream, like that, he says, yes, I need to do it. His mind is disturbed by material desires, by attraction to the opposite sex. So that living entity, he has karma-adhikara. How can he do bhakti? He can do bhakti by guru-pada-asraya, diksha, guru seva. Though he has the bodily concept of life, because his activity, it cannot be given, he cannot serve Krishna directly because he has a mundane consciousness. But if he's serving someone who is serving Krishna, now he's connected. And so, Srila Rupa Goswami said, the only eligibility for devotional service is not to be free from the bodily concept of life. The eligibility is shraddha, faith. And so with faith in the spiritual master and serving, thinking, God has come before me, this is Krishna's associate, he is free from all the coverings of material energy, a transcendental person, and I must serve him. And serving Guru with this strong faith is visrambena guru seva. Now this is an anga of bhakti. However, so by rendering devotional service in this way, what will happen? Anarthas will go and the bodily conception of life will go away. So up until then, it's not pure bhakti, it's bhakti abhas. And when Nistha comes, now there is sthirata buddhi, the mind is steady. One is not identifying with the body. Then ruchi, taste comes. One realizes, I am not the doer, but bhakti shakti is manifesting and playing on my senses. Now, actually, Shuddha Bhakti begins from here. So, the same holds true, just as Bhakti will not appear until Tattva Gyan awakens in the heart. For those on the path of Nishkam Karma Yoga, even those who are doing Sakshat Bhakti Angas, it will be Bhakti Abhas until Tattva Gyan arises in the heart and they become free from the bodily concept of life. It will be Bhakti Abhas. Whereas the Nishkam Karma, Nishkam Karma Yoga is not even Bhakti Abhas, because the activity itself is not among the angas of direct hearing, chanting, remembering Krishna's Nam, Rupa, Guna and Lila, and guru-pada-asraya and so on. So you see the difference between the Bhagavad-Arpita Nishkam Karma Yoga and Bhakti. Yet in both cases, the Shuddha Bhakti will not awaken until the anarthas have gone. But in one case, it's Bhagavad-Arpita Nishkam Karma Yoga, and in the other case, it's Bhakti Abhas. Yes. No. No. Absolutely not. Why? Because this is not, Krishna is saying, he's not saying, whatever kirtans you chant, whatever pastimes you remember, like this, whatever harikatha you hear, he's not saying, he's talking about activities, just bodily activities, Lokik, Vedic, Tantric, whatever, you offer that to me. But he's not speaking of Sakshat Angas of Bhakti.
So, it is only the Bhakti Abhas continuously performing the Angas of
No, it will only be Bhakti Abhas if the activity itself is one of the 64 Angas. Yeah. And it's done with Shraddha, with faith, under the guidance of a spiritual master. And it's only Bhakti Abhas because of the presence of some anartha that the bodily conception of life has not gone yet. Okay? Is that clear?
You just mentioned that the Nishkam Karma Jnana, if he doesn't have adhikar, but he can approach Guru, and Guru can give him adhikar, and then he is serving under Guru, it's visrambena,
Now, this act is not the karma, jnana, mishra, pradhani. No, this is directly bhakti, but it will remain in the category of, because the Guru is engaging in Shravanam, Kirtanam, and service to the Guru itself is one of the angas of bhakti. So, because he has Shraddha, that's his eligibility for bhakti.
Then it can be called Bhakti Abhas.
What can be called Bhakti Abhas?
A person who is doing Nishkam, approaching Guru, adhikar.
The activities which are among the angas of bhakti will be the Bhakti Abhas. And he may be taking support of the other activities which are not the direct angas, means that he's, because the Bhagavad-Arpita Nishkam Karma, whatever, all these things, they can give the Sattva Gun and also purify the heart with the arrangement of the arising of Tattva Gyan, which will make it turn into Jnana Yoga. So it means that in that stage, his angas of bhakti are being supported by the Nishkam Karma.
That's what's
You see? Yes.
But the anarthas can still be there even if the bodily conception is gone.
Yes, because anartha nivritti is not, from anartha nivritti one goes to Nistha, steadiness. But actually anartha nivritti continues all the way up to Prem. And there's still, in Prem there's still a little touch. Something. Which does not go away until you directly serve the lotus feet of Krishna. And then the last, that is called, that stage of anartha nivritti is called atyantic anartha nivritti. In other words, the anarthas have all gone, but there's a smell. And that last trace, that ganda, is destroyed by the sakshat seva of Krishna. So, when we say the bodily conception has cleared, and the Nistha has come, and then ruchi has come, it means that most of the gross anarthas have gone away, but there's still something remaining. And so, it's described that chaita eta anavidham, that the heart has been cleared enough, that the anarthas that still remain no longer impede the flow of service. Anavidham means unimpeded. Let's say, for example, I'll give a very simple, mundane example. If you have a bag to carry, right? So it's 200 kilos, you cannot even carry it, you cannot move. Yeah? So, but if you carry one bag 50 kilos, now you can move, but it's difficult. But if you carry a bag only 5 kilos, you're still carrying a weight, but it's not, you don't even notice it, you can run. Right? So in the same way, it means that when the anarthas are prominent, then you have no nishtha. You are engaging in devotional service, then one anartha interrupts the flow of your service and you do something else. And then again you engage, and then again it's interrupted. So nishtha is a steadiness. You are no longer interrupted. In other words, the weight of the anarthas has become light enough to go on without being impeded in the flow of your service. Though the effect of the anartha is still there somewhat in the consciousness. You see? And so, in other words, the devotee has a realization, I'm not this body. But still, that realization is the feelings of being the body and so on, they're still coming and going. But not enough to stop him from doing devotional service. Understand? So it said, even in the stage of bhav, the sadhak in the stage of rati, he has just a touch of klesh. That is the avidya, asmita, rag, dvesh and abhinivesh. 5 types of klesh. That means 5 causes of misery, such as avidya, accepting the not self to be the self. The cause of happiness, the cause of distress to be the causes of happiness, the impure as the impure, the permanent as the impermanent as the permanent. These are aspects of avidya. There's a little bit of that left in the stage of bhav. Little. But it's like what? If you have a white sheet and a small black spot is there, it stands out. So the devotee, he's so absorbed in ecstasy, but a slight touch of bodily concept may come and he sees it and thinks, alas, alas, I am so fallen, I am so contaminated. And the devotee is crying. It's actually practically no contamination left, but a tiny spot on a sheet which is completely white stands out. You see? If you have a totally dirty piece of cloth and you put another piece of dirt on it, no one notices. Like that. So the condition, ordinary condition soul, his consciousness is so dirty, if some unclean thought comes in his mind, it's not a big deal because there are so many of them there anyway.
So that's what you meant. That's what you meant when you said that only at the very highest level can you actually say something like, I am a worm's stool.
Yes.
Because
those types of devotees, they're lamenting because the very slight, minute contamination in the context of their such wonderful purity stands out. Yes. So in this way we have to understand the prayers of the very high-level devotees of condemning themselves. Like Bilvaman Thakur, when he took out his eyes, he was actually in the stage of rati. Don't think Bilvaman Thakur was, one day he went to a well and he saw one beautiful woman. And he became attracted and he followed her. So don't think Bilvaman Thakur was in the bodily conception of life completely and became attracted to a woman and then followed her. No, already some rati had appeared in his heart and he'd left everything. He'd become renounced. He was actually renounced at this point. He left his family, he left Chintamani. And then just a little touch came in his mind. And then afterwards he regretted it so much. That touch of the bodily conception was so painful, it was preferable to take out his eyes than experience that pain. And he blinded himself. So that attraction would never come again. But if you, in your mind, you become attracted and you say, oh, that's very bad, but you will not take out your eyes. Because that attraction was not more painful than the pain of removing your eyes. In fact, it wasn't so bad. And the pain of removing the eyes, oh my God, forget it.
As long as she's a devotee.
Like this. So these are that is what it says. Bilva Mangaladya Yese Sadhaka Parikirtana. He's the example of a sadhak. So the definition of a sadhak is Utpana Ratyasam Yam Narvi Gyamanupagataha. Krishna Sakshat Krito Yogya Sadhaka Parikirtita. It's a person who has become qualified to realize Krishna. And when they chant sometimes, they have some realization. Some rati has appeared. But they're not free from 5 types of klesh. There's a little trace of these 5 types. Avidya asmit. Asmit means to confound the seer with the power of seeing. This is the definition of asmita. In other words, your senses are doing things. If you think I am doing things, then this is asmita. So that's an aspect of the bodily conception of life. So there's a little bit of asmita, a little bit of rag, dvesh, abhinivesh. This is another subject, the 5 types of pleasure. So the person who has rati has appeared, they're qualified to see Krishna, but there's still a little trace of obstacle in them in the form of these 5 types of klesh. That is called a sadhak. And only when even the last trace of 5 types of klesh has been removed, then a person is called a siddha. They're called siddha. This is the difference between sadhak and siddha. So usually, that last remnant of 5 types of klesh is the last lingering smell of the reaction to an offense, to a great devotee, perhaps performed in a previous life even. Yes.
So regarding Tattva-gyan, and in fact, is Tattva-gyan the purpose of, once that is installed, once you have that, the bodily conception essentially is not predominating?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
So that's how. So we should see this as a scale of it's decreasing while other things are increasing.
Yes, yes. All these developments in bhakti are not cut-off points. You know, it's a continuous curve of gradual, slow reduction of the bodily conception of life, and gradual increase of the spiritual conception of life. And as one is going up, the other is going down. So when the proportions change, then
you know how people generally have a very strong tie to their families, you know, the biological affinities and things like this.
Yes.
And then they go into bhakti and the family's not in bhakti. Yeah, one of the big struggles is, oh, but I love and I shouldn't, you know, forswear them and all of this. And then they read things like it's natural to be distant and all of this kind of thing, and they think this makes no sense, or why would you do this?
okay, I don't know why it says it's natural to be distant, but
No, you know.
because it's a misinterpretation. It said freedom from attachment to the family members. So my Gurudev used to say, have affection for everyone and attachment for no one. And the problem is people confound attachment with affection. You see? Affection means when you care about the well-being of that soul. And attachment is when you think about that person in terms of the role they play in the agenda of your life, your desires and so on. So, let's say there's a devotee. If his parents, they're not against bhakti, but he will just cut off the family completely, then this may make them go against bhakti. So internally one should have no attachment. That means not meditating. That your time, which is meant for remembering Krishna, is meditating on the happiness and distress of the family members. That's what is explained here. In the translation, Gurudev translates, detached from wife, children and the rest means don't be absorbed in their mundane happiness and distress. See? So always thinking of Krishna, but in the same way, out of affection, relating with them in such a way that they'll get positive impressions of devotional service and may in the future even take it up themselves. Yeah. Understand?
Yes, the reason I ask this is because this idea of waning physical conception would seem to be related to attachment in general.
So don't think detachment and being cold with everyone is the same thing. No. A person who's trying to be detached by being cold with everyone is pretending. Because they're actually averse to everyone, and aversion is the opposite, is attachment, just the other side of the coin. Understand? So, once the Prabhupada, he had one sannyas disciple, Brahmananda. So Brahmananda's mother came to see him. Right? So his mother came in the room, and Prabhupada said, give pranam to your mother. You see, I'm a sannyasi, everyone has to give pranam to me. Prabhupada said, bow down and give pranam to your mother. Prabhupada made him bow down to his mother. Why? Because she carried him in the womb for 9 months. And by this gave the human form of life. And that human form of life in which he met Sadhguru, by which one's whole existence can become perfect. So there's some obligation. Not only that, she's not against bhakti, and she came to see Prabhupada also. So even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after sannyas, went twice back to his mother and sat in his mother's lap, and his mother was caressing him and bathing her in his tears. And then his mother ordered him, don't go to Vrndavan, be in Puri because it's closer. And he accepted that order of his mother. So even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after sannyas, never rejected his mother. So don't adopt the neophyte conception that detachment means to be averse to everyone, because that's just attachment.